guys, it's Gamer Ahmer here. So today I wanted to go ahead and show off one of my recent pickups. Now, a lot of these games are actually PlayStation 2 games, with a couple PlayStation 1 and regular Xbox games, along with some controllers. So let's go ahead and check them out. So as you see here, we have this big box of games, and I actually got this local from a buddy of mine, and all of these items were less than $1 a piece. So we'll start out with some of the Xbox games in this box. So of course we have this loose disc of X-Men Legends for the original Xbox, and this is a pretty sweet Marvel game, so I'll have to go ahead and try this one out. And then we have this really cool Ultimate Collector's Edition pack, and this is in a larger cardboard box, and it has two regular game cases in it. So this is Dead or Alive Ultimate, and this is only on the Xbox. So we have Dead or Alive 1 and Dead or Alive 2 in here, and then of course on the back it shows some images from the game. And this was a pretty great series growing up. I really enjoyed playing these beat 'em up style games, and Dead or Alive was a lot of fun, so this is pretty sweet to have this collector's edition in my collection. And then of course we have this game called Flat Out, and this one looks pretty sweet. I haven't actually played this one before, but it says reckless drivers wanted, ram through pile-ups and smash through your windshield as you push racing to the edge. Flat Out delivers more heart-stopping thrills than any sane driver can handle. And then of course on the back here you have a guy smashed up against the windshield, and it looks like there's a lot of destruction in this game. So this looks pretty sweet, and it even says hurl your driver in 6 death-defying bonus games. And it looks like there's some large bowling pins right there, so I'll have to see what this game's about and see if it's any fun. And then right here we have Jaws Unleashed for the original Xbox, and this says nature's ultimate predator has been unleashed. You are Jaws. So this one looks like a pretty interesting game. Then on the back here it just shows a bunch of pictures of Jaws going after some people who are swimming, and there's a beach right there, and there's a lot of blood, so this looks pretty interesting. And this is definitely not your Echo the Dolphin game. This is something a little bit more crazy, so I'll have to try this one out. And then onto the sports game, we have NASCAR 6 Total Team Control. So I haven't actually played these NASCAR games, but maybe I'll go ahead and give this one a go. And it looks like that's it for the original Xbox games in this lot. So we'll move on to some PlayStation 1 games. So of course we have these Tomb Raider games for the original PlayStation. And surprisingly, I don't have some of these in my collection, as I played them growing up, but I'm not exactly sure where they ended up at. So here we have Tomb Raider with Lara Croft on the cover. Sometimes a killer body just isn't enough. So that's what the back of this one says. And then we have Tomb Raider 2 starring Lara Croft. And this one even includes demos of Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, and Tomb Raider 3. So this one is pretty sweet. And then we even have Tomb Raider The Last Revelation. And once again, there's Lara Croft on the cover. So it says, will indeed put that series back at the very top, man. Lara is hot. So that's what some of the comments say on the back of this game. So these are some pretty cool games right here. And a little bonus that my buddy threw in Here is this flashlight that was only at GameStop, and this was an exclusive flashlight that you could get when you pre-ordered Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now I do have some other Tomb Raider display items in my collection. I even have some of the posters that actually advertise this flashlight that you could get when you pre-ordered the game, but I didn't have the flashlight, so this is pretty sweet. And it says Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and this is a very bright flashlight, so this is definitely pretty sweet to add to a lot of my promo items and my Tomb Raider and Lara Croft collection. And then on to another PlayStation game pickup. We have this game. It's called Norse by Northwest, The Return of the Lost Vikings. And it has these pretty crazy looking characters on the front here. It says, "Their Lost is your game." It says, "The Lost Boys are back. This action strategy game is not for the lame of brain." In their last adventure, the trio escaped from the evil alien captor Tomater. Now, armed with an all-new high-tech weaponry, the boys, heisted from Tomater, they set out to find the time machine that will land them back home. It's your challenge to complete each of the levels with all 3 Vikings alive and kicking. So this looks like a pretty interesting game, and I'll have to go ahead and try this one out. And then moving on to some PlayStation 2 games, we actually have a couple more loose games here. We have MX versus ATV Unleashed. Now this was definitely a fun game growing up. I really enjoyed this entire series and pretty much all of these ATV racing games, so this one is definitely pretty sweet. And then of course we have this Grand Theft Auto 3 disc for the PlayStation 2, and of course GTA was a very fun series on the PlayStation 2. I even enjoyed it on the original PlayStation when it first came out, and I played various computer games of the Grand Theft Auto series, so this is pretty neat. And then on to several PlayStation 2 games that are complete. We have this Ford Mustang, The Legend Lives. So this is one of those racing games, but it only has these Ford Mustang cars in it. Race 40 years of American muscle, Ford Mustang. So it has tons of different Mustangs in here from 1964 to 2005. So this is pretty interesting. And then we have this Brothers in Arms Earned in Blood game. For the PlayStation 2, it says, "Taking command isn't easy, taking the consequences is even harder." So I don't believe I've actually played this game, but it even says, "Watch Brothers in Arms" on the History channel. So this is an interesting game, and I'll have to try this one out. And of course, another Grand Theft Auto game, we have Liberty City Stories. So these are just classics right here. And then we even have this Spartan game, and it's Spartan Total Warrior. And of course, this is made by Sega. So it says, "You are the Spartan, you are the Total Warrior." From the creators of the award-winning Total War series comes the greatest battle ever seen on console. On one side, the might of Rome. On the other, the fury of the Spartans. And you, the Spartans' greatest hero, must lead the charge. So this one actually looks pretty neat, and you don't see too many of these style games. So this is definitely pretty cool, and this one looks like a pretty interesting Spartan and Warrior game, so I'll have to try this one. And then we have another racing game, Super Trucks Racing. So once again, I'm assuming that this one is only with large trucks. So it says, "Super Trucks Racing on Steroids." Wrestle with 5 tons of metal throbbing at 1,400 horsepower at speeds over 150 miles per hour. Super Trucks Racing is a true test of racing skill, featuring real teams, trucks, drivers, and tracks in the perfect combination of real racing action and over-the-top gaming. So this one is definitely interesting that they went ahead and used these trucks. And then of course this DT Racer game. So this says Extreme Tuner Racing just hit a whole new level of no holds barred racing. DT Racer drops you on 22 of the slickest tracks around the globe. Completely fine-tune every inch of your car's handling and performance with unlimited customization. And when you're done, put your foot to the floor and show them what you've got. So this one seems different and pretty interesting. So this one might actually be a little bit more challenging, as of course it's pretty difficult to play some of these racing games when you're going around the curves. That's usually the hardest part of most of the races. So this one seems like one of those precision-based games, and it might be fun to try. And then we have this IHRA Motorsports Drag Racing 2, Nothing But Attitude. So this one seems pretty interesting. It has 50 vehicles, including classics and late models. It looks like there's even some hot rods on here as well. So this one seems pretty interesting. And then we have this dual pack, Guitar Hero and Guitar Hero 2. Now, I didn't even know that they had this dual pack, as I've only seen the games separate. So this is definitely interesting. And then we have this ATV Off-Road Fury 3, which was one of the more fun games in the series. So this one will definitely bring back some memories when I play it. And it says kickstart your PlayStation 2 with off-road excitement that only ATV Off-Road Fury 3 can bring. Climb up and hang on as you dominate and disseminate more than 30 unique free-roaming game environments and more than 40 different tracks with 6 distinct terrain types and effects so realistic the fog gets thicker the higher you climb. With unbelievably detailed graphics, challenging gameplay, and realistic crashes, ATV3 immerses riders on the action-packed intensity of ATV competition, stunts, and racing excitement. So this one, I definitely remember having a lot of fun playing this, so this is definitely pretty sweet that I now have it in my collection. And then of course we have this Thrillville game. Now, I've always been a fan of these simulation style games where you build these theme parks and have these elaborate roller coasters and rides. So right here it says build and ride, build the most insane coasters and ride in them too. Endless hours of fun, 20 mini games, 101 attractions, and you can even interact on here as well. So this is definitely a pretty fun game, and I've always loved these games anytime that you have roller coasters or theme parks. So this is definitely pretty sweet. And then we even have this Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. Now this is one of the ones that I actually enjoyed, as I believe I actually got this Guitar Hero pack growing up. So I had this one here with all the classic rock bands, and it says over 70 rockin' tracks on here, so this is pretty neat. And then we have this Cabela's Outdoor Adventures. So this one says the great outdoors are calling. Take the hunting and fishing expedition of a lifetime with 22 adventures across North America and beyond. Stalk monster bucks and trophy big game, or stop off and fish the local waters. Experience the sights and sounds of a true-to-life outdoor adventure where stealth, strategy, and technique are of the utmost importance. So it says hunt and fish, thousands of gear options, 32 animals to hunt, 11 fish species, and 11 exotic locations. And then we have this Corvette racing game as well. So this one, of course, features various styles of Corvettes, and this one is very similar to a lot of the different racing style games that PlayStation actually had back in the day. And then we have the Strike Force Bowling, which says Strike Force Bowling, right up your alley. So this one looks like it has different bowling alleys in different locations. So this one kind of takes a different spin. And then we even have this pro fishing game, Rapala. And it says, grab your tackle box, launch the bass boat, and let's go. Rapala Pro Fishing sets the standard for all fishing games. Never before has a fishing game brought you all this. Authentic Rapala fishing gear, guided fishing trips with Rapala's pro staff, and a boatload of action. Time to set the hook and land that trophy of a lifetime. So this one is more so just focused on fishing as opposed to hunting. And then we have another fishing game. We have Mac Davis Pro Bass Challenge. And then this one right here, Fisherman's Bass Club. And then we have this World Championship Poker, which is a greatest hits version of the game. So it says, World Championship Poker, bring the best of Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and the Big Easy right into your home. Put yourself in the thick of the action as you pit your skills against virtual and human players alike. Live the life of a pro on the tour, hitting the hottest tables in America's hottest televised sport. But watch your chips, because these people can really play. So this has some different style poker games on here. It even has Texas Hold'em, Omaha Hold'em, 5-card draw, and 7-card stud. So it has 50 single player tournaments. So this is definitely interesting. And it even has some tutorials, hints, and strategy tips like the pros use. And of course, another racing style game. We have Ford Racing 3. And then we have a pretty neat pinball game. This is Pinball Hall of Fame. And it says 7 classic tables including Ace High, Central Park, Big Shot, Genie, Black Hole, Victory, and Teed Off. So this is pretty interesting. And it looks like it has some pretty cool pinballs in here. Now, nothing beats playing a regular pinball game, but this is still pretty neat. And then, of course, we have this Spider-Man game. So that was everything that was actually included in that box. Now, on to some more pickups. We have this NASCAR racing wheel right here, and it says NASCAR on the front of this actual steering wheel, and there are various controller buttons on here. So this actually acts as the controller, and you still have to press some of the buttons. There's a D-pad on here. It says L3, R3, select start, L2, R2, mode, and then this is made by Logitech. And then it even comes with this foot pedal attachment on here as well. So this is definitely pretty sweet, and I actually have a pretty cool setup that I could actually put this on top of when I go ahead and play some of those racing style games. And this was actually included in this lot of games right here. And then I even scored some of these Next controllers for free. So here we have this Mad Catz controller. Now this one is definitely an interesting style, as it has this part right here, and then we have this piece up here. So usually you don't see this very often, where it looks like a fight stick and a flight stick in one. So this is definitely an interesting approach that Mad Catz did. So you just go ahead and press these buttons right here, or you can go ahead and use this as a little flight stick, and it has some of the different buttons on here as well, which is definitely pretty interesting. And it's kind of molded to fit your hand on here, and it has this little dip to go ahead and make it more comfortable. But this is definitely pretty sweet, and I'll have to go ahead and play some of the games with this. And then next up we have this controller right here. It's actually a different color blue, and it kind of has this sparkling effect to it. And this is made by Alps Interactive, and this is actually for the PlayStation. Now this is definitely one of those odd shaped controllers, as it kind of reminds me of the boomerang for the Nintendo 64. So this one is definitely different. It has a little bit of a different grip on the back here to make it more comfortable, but it still feels bulky and odd in your hands. And then we have this smooth D-pad over here. We have select start, the buttons, and they're all kind of shaped different. They kind of have this teardrop effect to them. And then these two buttons at the top here, which also have that teardrop effect. So this is definitely an odd shaped controller, and I couldn't pass it up, especially since it was free. They were just going to throw it out. So this is definitely pretty sweet. And then of course, this is the last of the recent pickup. So right here, you'll notice that I actually had to get a much larger shot of this item. So this is a DDR game tournament metal dance pad. And you'll notice that it even came with the original shipping box, which actually had 2 of these mats in it. So this is such a large box, and it was actually very heavy, so I had to actually take out each of the metal mats so that I could go ahead and move this large box. So the cool thing about having 2 DDR dance mats is 1, you can play with a friend, and 2, you could go ahead and connect the mats to go ahead and make the gameplay a little bit more challenging, as you'll have to move across the entire screen as opposed to just half the screen. So this is definitely an awesome item, and I'm so excited that I added these to my collection, as when you play on those slip mats that aren't actually metal, they're that plastic feeling, and they kind of crunch a little bit when you step on them, and they're not very sturdy, so you end up slipping all across the carpet, and it definitely is hard to play the game when you play on some of the advanced difficulties with those regular style mats. So this is a super sweet pickup, and this is definitely awesome because the metal dance pad actually feels like you're at the arcade and you have it hooked up and you're playing. So this is definitely pretty sweet. So as you'll notice over here, I actually have 2 of these metal dance pads, and they are a pretty large size. So here we have it. So this is definitely pretty sweet. It has these bright colors on here, these different arrows, and we have this show me your best on here. We have the red, blue, and the green. So this is definitely a pretty sweet addition to my collection, and I actually have 2 of these because it came in this original shipping box. So this is just even better, and it even has some pieces on the end here where you can go ahead and connect them together. So that is definitely pretty sweet. And then the pretty cool thing about these DDR dance mats is that they're actually universal with this attachment right here. So it says DDR game where exercise gets fun. It has this little pin connector right here, which is on each of the 2 mats. So you just plug it in here, and then it has this multi-use end where we have the GameCube option. We even have an option to play it on a PC because you have this USB port. We have a PlayStation 2 port and then original Xbox port. So you can play all of the different Dance Dance Revolution games that were released with just this little component right here. So this is definitely a pretty sweet pickup. It's one of my favorites in the entire lot, and I'm very excited to play it. So as you can tell, I got some great items in my last video game pickup, and the best part of it is that these items were less than $1 a piece, and some were actually free. So a lot of these items I didn't actually have in my collection, and I've been wanting some of these, as you can't go wrong with these classic Tomb Raider games with Lara Croft. Even though the newer ones are much better and more fun to play, you still have to remember where these started. And then this pretty sweet promo item of the flashlight that came with the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So this is definitely pretty sweet to add to my Tomb Raider and Lara Croft collection. And then this game right here looks pretty interesting to play, Norse by Northwest, and it's a pretty interesting Viking style game. And then of course this NASCAR racing wheel with the foot pedal action right there. That'll be a lot of fun to play some of these older games on. And then these interesting and odd controllers for the PlayStation. You can never have too many controllers, as if you've seen some of my pictures and some of my other items in my collection, you'll know that I have tons of controllers, and I really go after those odd and wacky style controllers. And then even these Xbox games, I've never played Jaws and it looks interesting. And then this pretty cool collector's edition of Dead or Alive, which is pretty neat. And then some of these PlayStation 2 games with the Spartan game and Spider-Man. So a lot of these are pretty fun and interesting racing games. So what a better way to play them than this racing wheel. And then the Dance Dance Revolution mats that I picked up. Those are definitely pretty sweet, and they kind of replicate that arcade feel, being that hard metal that goes on the ground as opposed to those slick mats that slide all over the carpet, and you don't really get an actual arcade feel. So those just make this pickup even greater, and I'm definitely excited to go back and play some Dance Dance Revolution on a lot of the different systems, as I have that switcher cable that can hook it up to various systems, which definitely makes it easier. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos and stay tuned for more.